¿Qué onda, guapa, guapo? Bienvenidos a Self Made Success.
Be the first millionaire in your family. ¿Cómo ser el primer millonario o millonaria en tu familia?
Mi nombre es Coral Muyáez.
Yo soy Perla Machain.
Self Made Success.
Hola a todos, pues estamos otra vez, es otro día de podcast de Self Made Success. Be the first millionaire in your family. Y hoy tenemos a una invitada súper especial.
Muy
Especial. De hecho, por ella nos conocimos Coral y yo.
Sí.
Es una amiga muy querida. Yo empecé siendo fan de ella y nos hemos convertido en muy buenas amigas. Es una persona que admiro, la admiro como mujer, en su vida personal, como es con su familia, como es de buena amiga. Y también la admiro muchísimo en la parte profesional. Es una persona muy tenaz, tiene una disciplina increíble y tiene un mindset espectacular. Sí. Y bueno, les presento a Elena Cardone.
Elena Cardone. Esta entrevista va a ser, no se la pueden perder, chicos, desde ahorita hasta el final, así garantizado.
Va a estar espectacular. Welcome, my dear friend Elena.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh my God.
Oh, it's so good to be here with you guys. Thank you for having me on your show.
It's such a blessing to have you. Thank you so much for making the time. You have no idea how valuable, how much we value you being here and allowing us to pick your brain a little bit to share with all the Latin American community about money, financial literacy, becoming a millionaire, and you know
becoming a billionaire.
The billionaire, of course. And you know what I love most about you? That you're not scared to talk about money. Because, you know, very interestingly enough, like, let me just, before we start, let me just say this. You know, we've been interviewing some interesting people, you know, and other billionaires, other millionaires. And something very, very interesting has been happening, which is they don't like to talk that much about money. They don't like to talk that much. They don't feel comfortable. Like, they're billionaires, okay? And they're like, these people have a lot of money. But they're not very comfortable. They're more, like, reserved. Yeah. Like, more reserved, more quiet. Like, somehow they don't feel comfortable. Or, I don't know, it's just weird. So it was really hard for me to interview them. Because I wanted to make the hard questions. And they just wouldn't kind of, like, say anything. So I'm so blessed and happy that you are so honest and along with Grant, and so honest and so open that we can ask these hard questions about money. And yeah, so thank you so much.
Well, we both are their students.
Yes,
we are 10Xers. Yes. We have been reading all their books. I mean, we're
for sure. I've been in Elena's masterminds. They've changed my life. The relationship one was amazing.
Yeah, we were there together.
Yeah, actually, yeah. It's just amazing to have you here. And so yeah.
Okay, so first of all, everybody, I want you to know how I met Elena, because I think it's was so interesting. I read all Grant Cardone books. I'm a big reader. I love to read. Mm-hmm. I'm self-made. I was very bad at school, so for me, like, reading was like going to school, go to this older conference. So well, I started being Grant Cardone fan because I read everything from him. Then I saw that his beautiful wife Elena have a book as well. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy it. So I read Elena How to Build an Empire. I read her book, and I really love it because it talks how, as a couple, as a family with their kids, do everything to build their empire, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, it was very, very, very good reading because as everybody knows, I'm a real estate agent. My husband is a developer as well. So we mostly do teams as well. So for me, it was very, very good reading. So then I become more fan of Elena than Grant. I love Grant as well, but I become like super into Elena, and I start like following her, whatever. So when the pandemic arrived to the world, we were in Miami. I live between Mexico and Miami. I was in Miami at that time. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do like these 3 months? We were in a boat of my husband. And I started doing an online course with Grant, like for probably three months. And the last day of the conference, my husband told me, why don't we go to have dinner to the terrace of the boat? And I was like, yeah. He was like, okay. And how was he told me, okay, groupie, tell me how was the conference with Grant, la la la. What did you learn? And I was like, I just want to tell you something. I want to meet them. I think I can do so many things with them, real estate wise, wellness wise. I don't know. I have the feeling. And he was like, Robert was like, okay, you're a very good manifester. Start manifesting. And I was like, no, Robert, I have been doing my affirmations, like not now with the conference, like 1 year ago. He was like, okay, so probably at some point you're going to know them. And I was like, yeah. So we start eating, la la la. And suddenly we were in the desert. And it was the pandemic time that, like at the end of May, that people start like going out to have dinner to people that they know, like very. And then I saw a golf cart. And suddenly I was like, like when you're in a dream that you can talk and you can yell. Mm-hmm. I was like, and I was like, I didn't have time to tell to Robert anything. I was like, Elena, Grant, like crazy. Robert was like, oh my God, what you? Elena and Grant are going to pass in front of our boat. I just saw them give a turn. And he was like, oh my God, don't be that groupie. And I was like, I don't care. Elena, Grant.
That's so funny.
And the golf cart stopped and Elena was like, and I was like, hi, Grant. I just was in your online course. And Grant was like, oh yeah, I just finished it. Just the time that I get from Sunny Isles, from Golden Beach to to here to downtown. And I was like, oh my God, Elena, I read your book. And Elena was like, where are you from? I'm from Mexico. That's why my accent, la, na, na. And she was like, how long are you going to be here? And I was like, I leave tomorrow to Mexico. And she was like, okay, contact me when you're back, la, na, na. And I was like, yes, I will contact you. Mwah, bye, adios, la, 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 la. Next day, I went to Mexico. Time passes, la, la, la. And I was like in the mind, I have to contact Elena. But I was like super emotion. And Robert, my husband, was like, oh my God, Perla, you're a super big manifestor. I can't believe that. And I was like, I can't believe it too. Mm-hmm. 1 year after, I was like searching like in Instagram or whatever. And I saw that Elena was in EXP.
Yeah.
And everybody was calling me from EXP. And I was like, no, I'm good. And when I saw that my Elena was in EXP, I sent her a message, don't knowing if she was going to answer me or not. It's like sending a message to, I don't know, to Luis Miguel. And yes. And then like 3 hours after, and it was Elena Cardone. And I was like, Nico, look who answered me. And she was like, Perla, I saw that you're a realtor. I saw your profile. And yes, when can we meet? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be in Miami in 15 days. I couldn't like write. And she was like, no, let's meet tomorrow by Zoom. She's like a doer, right? And the next day I was like, oh my God, I went to the beauty salon. Like, hi, Elena. Hi, how are you? La, 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 la. And to make a long story short, 15 days after, I was in her office. And from that day to now, that's like almost 2 years, we have been like super good friends. And the first year we were like this. We were like, oh my God, like pili mili, right? So I get to know her. Like in a personal way with her husband, with her kids, in her house. And I know her as a serial entrepreneur. And I admire so much her. I admire you so much. Oh my God. Sorry.
We do. We invited you because we both admire your career, admire your mindset. Me personally, I admire what you've become as a woman and what you've done. and I have really juicy questions. I like to know about you. So we have very juicy questions. Would you like to
So
start?
I just want to say how I met her, because I mean, really, whatever whatever your mind can conceive and believe, your mind can achieve.
Yeah.
And that's example on how I get to know Elena Cardone, Grant Cardone, David Avocado Wolf, Richard Branson, Tony Robbins. I mean, all the people that I want to know. And really, it's that, no? Whatever your mind can conceive and believe, your mind can achieve. That's something from Napoleon Hill. Okay, my dear Elena, I want to ask you, how was your childhood? I saw the other day your mother in a picture, and I was like, oh my God, your mother. Tell me, how was your childhood, your younger years?
Well, again, I love that story. You pulled that in immediately, so that was cool. So I was actually born in Madrid, Spain, as an American citizen on Spanish soil. So I only lived in Spain for 1 year. Hence, when we moved back to the United States, we went to New Orleans, Louisiana. My parents were both, their native tongue is English. So I didn't grow up with Spanish in the house. Now I'm trying to learn Spanish, and I've figured out I have the worst accent, and I just don't have that talent to learn languages, but I'm still hanging in there. That being said, I was raised in New Orleans. I was kind of a daddy's girl. I liked to shoot guns. I was a tomboy. I played baseball, football, not soccer, but American football, like in my younger years. So then things were great. You know, I was never really good in school, but I was able to get by because I could memorize things pretty well. And then when I hit around 13, 14, I had a tragedy, which took me many, many years, if not a decade, to recover from, which was that my best friend, who had lived across the street from me, died in a house fire. Unfortunately, I was there, saw the whole thing at that age. It's just not something I could easily cope with. The sight of that, it's just like shocking. It's if you, hopefully no one ever has to see a body in that condition that's been burnt over, like severely burned over 90% of their body. But it was really shocking to me. It was the first time I had experienced a death. And the very next day, you know, my parents are amazing parents, they're loving parents, but they didn't understand how to handle me, help me. My dad fought in World War II. We just always move forward. We're not like a highly affectionate family, but we're loving. My point to that is the very next day I was kind of expected to go to school, and I did go to school. So coming from the background of being a tomboy, I never allowed my emotions or crying, because I was always trying to prove myself to the boys that I wasn't a girl, you know, because girls cry. So I had to be extra tough, extra more better than all the boys, right? And so I suppressed all of that, and it was really overwhelming. So that's when I really turned to drugs and alcohol at a very young age. At 14, at 13, I smoked my first joint. But I turned to kind of excessive drugs and alcohol usage at that time to kind of cope with my feelings. At 17 years old, I moved out of New Orleans to kind of clean up my life. Now, remember, every time I'm going in and out of my house, I'm looking across the street at this still burnt out house that they never tore down or anything. So like I could never escape those images from my mind. It was literally driving me crazy. So at 17 years old, I moved to Los Angeles to become an actress, a model. It was really the only thing I thought I could pull off. I loved acting. I went to high school for it to get out of, that's another story. I went to a very tough public high school. In order to get out of that high school for half of the day, I found this academic this arts high school that I could split my time between. So since I have no talent in poetry, art, dance, or writing, I auditioned for the acting, the drama department, and I made it in. So that's always kind of been, so that got me out of the bad high school. And so I've always kind of used acting to save me, to rescue me. So I got out of the bad high school for half of the day by going to this art school. And then I used that, since I always thought I was dumb and not the intelligent type, and I never wanted to go to college. School was traumatizing to me as well. So I used that, and I went out to Los Angeles at 17 years old to try to go be a model and actress, but most importantly, to kind of clean up my life. So that was my childhood. You know, it was all fun and games until your best friend perishes in a fire across the street.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it sounds like a wild childhood and teenage years, and I can relate when it comes to alcohol and everything. I also abused all those things. I'd like to question, so now you are this beautiful woman, ambitious. You, along with Grant, one of your goals in life is to educate people when it comes to money and financial literacy, and you've been very dedicated to that. I wanted to ask you, do you think you were born with the ambition? Were you born being ambitious? Were you born wanting to become a millionaire, now a billionaire? Were you born with that, or do you think you developed that through the years? How do you see your relationship with money growing up, or developing, if not?
I don't think I was born with that, because I never was exposed to the reality of that. That was always something for those people. So my household, my father, as amazing as he was, a World War II veteran, he could never acclimate to the work environment. So my mom was the sole breadwinner. My father never actually had an income producing job. So we lived we're not poverty struck, stricken. I always had clothes. We always had food. I didn't sleep on a dirt floor, but we were always terrified of, literally, we lived month to month. I remember the agony and the stress of my mother every single month. How are we going to pay the mortgage? It was like on a loop. How are we, gosh forbid, if the school needed more money for books or whatever, everything was just a financial burden and a worry. And I came from the place where I could never be a rich person. That wasn't the cloth that we were cut from. So it was just so out of my level of even thinking that somebody like me could have that. So I was definitely not born with that. It was something that I really evolved over time with, to really start being able to allow myself to think bigger. When I got together, and then, because of the acting and the drama lessons and how I kept using acting to pull me out of the high school, to pull me into Los Angeles, I did start to develop around that age, like aspirations and dreams of, well, what if I could become an actress? And then I wanted to be successful and in the spotlight and be rich and famous. And that's when all of those thoughts and concepts started to arise. But it wasn't until I got with Grant that I really started to understand the fundamentals and the principles of money themselves.
Okay. You're going to be 50 years old this year, which, by the way, you are the most gorgeous 50-year-old person I know.
Yeah, like what? What do you mean 50?
Yeah. And I say that because, your information is public. So, yeah. What, now that you're going to be 50, how do you see yourself today? And what do you feel more proud of yourself in a personal way and business-wise?
So now I see I see myself completely different than in my younger years. I invalidated myself a lot. I allowed other people's ideas and opinions or thoughts stop me. I was too worried and concerned about what other people thought of me. I had more of like a victim mentality, thinking I can't, they can, I can't, and all the reasons and excuses why not me, poor me. So that was then. Now I see myself on a personal level. What I'm really most proud of was the ability that I could shift my mindset and take responsibility. So first, in that I thought, and I was reared to believe, never depend on a man for anything. I feel like society indoctrinates, at least me. I don't want to speak for all the women, but I feel like they kind of indoctrinate us to not depend on a man. So and they don't promote that bond. And if you do, you're an idiot and he's going to leave you. And all of that might be true in some people's cases, right? And certainly it was for me true. When I used to think I can never depend on a man, they're all going to cheat. Every single man that led up to that held me back and cheated. So I made myself very right on that viewpoint and on that mindset. When I changed my mind and said, there's got to be a man out there out of 7 billion people on the planet, there's got to be a guy up there who can lift me to heightened levels of success and who can be faithful and monogamous. That's when I shifted my viewpoint. That's when I got with Grant Cardone. And that's when my life has been lifted and a guy has been monogamous, much to my mind-blowingness, because I never thought that was possible. So on a personal level, I was actually able to shift the paradigm and the trajectory of life going forward just on changing that mindset alone. The second thing I'm really proud of is that I crawled my way out of the mud, if you will. I became self-educated. I look up words in the dictionary all the time. I become more ethical. I haven't done a drug since December 31st, 1999. I gave birth at home, no drugs, to 2 children. And I don't abuse alcohol anymore. So, and then lastly, on a personal level is again, I was indoctrinated to think I didn't want to be a mom because that would make me have to stop my career and earning money. And I thought somehow that would be looked on as less than to all the other women out there. Remember, I told you I let too many other outside influences dictate my life. So I actually thought I never really wanted to be a mother because I thought that somehow my worth would be degraded because now I might not be earning as much as a businesswoman. And so personally, now that I've become a mother and I realize, wow, we're actually have the greatest role on the planet, which is we're responsible for the procreation of civilization. We're responsible for the forward motion of mankind. Like, what business job is more important than that? And that was another mind shift that now has empowered me to just own who I am and be very unapologetic about it and be able to share the message with other women. So I never have to hear another woman say what I used to say is, I'm just a mom or I'm just a wife. Like, you're you support your husband. You're the one that bears the weight of. So I'm sorry, you're stronger than him and everything else, but you're so I really am passionate, as you can see, about my viewpoint on the value of women, and I want to see it restored to society.
I think that's amazing. And one of our goals with this podcast is exactly right. Like, give women permission to go after what they want, whether that's motherhood, whether that's money, whether that's whatever it is, right? Because I hear you and you say, well, I was taught to never depend on a man. However, here in Latin America, it's the other way around, I would say. We are taught to depend on a man. And that's what you see here happening. You see, it's a cultural thing. Like, here you're supposed to be a nice girl, good girl, no bad words, no smoke, no drinking. So someone eligible would want to marry you, right? And so it's just,
and you know what? I can see the ups and the downside to that, because if a woman, feels like she's not valuable enough, so she has to be this facade for somebody to go and then take care of her, I can see where that would make some women feel like that's not their purpose. But on the hindsight of that, if a woman's willing to make herself good enough to pull in a guy that's worthy of trust so that the two people can come together to push each other to heighten levels of success, because that's what love is. Love is helping each other achieve their goals and their dreams. And then I say, go for it. What's wrong with that? I had to get myself to a place worthy enough to pull in a guy that was of comparable magnitude to me. Like Grant would have never have been attracted to me if I was still doing the clubs and drinking and not being sporadic and not wanting a family. Like we would never have matched up. So I don't see
no, it just sorry, so I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just thought that's such a key thing you're saying. I don't want to miss it. What are the 3 key elements you must develop as a woman to attract a valuable man?
Okay, so what I would do is you come up with the list. What I did was I wrote a list of the perfect ideal partner for me, what I'm looking for, because I say this all the time. Find the one you trust and build an empire. Find the one you trust. Obviously, you're going to love the person, or why would you be with them in the first place? But trust, like what is, trust so that they're still going to do their role in the relationship to reach the heightened level of success, whether y'all are fighting or not, right? But what I did was I wrote a list of all the ideal things that I want in a man: ethical, monogamous, ethically ambitious, supportive, values women, doesn't degrade women, like write it all down, right? And then when you see this perfect partner on page, then from this perfect partner's, if this perfect partner existed, what would he write of what he would want in a woman? And then you can look at the list, because that's what I did, right? I wrote Grant, the perfect guy, right? And he showed up. And what would he want? He would want monogamous. He would want drug and alcohol free. He would want somebody who wanted to have a family. He would want somebody who was interested in his career. He would want someone who was wanting to self-care and take care of herself, because I imagine the guy would want a girl to look good and feel good about herself. And then I looked at how far off I was from what he would want. And then that's when I started working on myself. That's when I was like, okay, I'm not doing the clubs anymore. I'm going to start, working on how I can want to be in a relationship, how I can want to have kids. I had to do that work before I actually got in a relationship with him. But certainly, if you're asking me about the 3 qualities to see if they link up, I would say, your core values. What are your core values, and do they align? Which y'all's purposes? What's your purpose? Where do you want to go as a couple? Not just your individual goals, but where would you want to go as a couple? Okay, so I would look at that. I would say, what are your purposes? Do they align? What are your core values? Do they align? And number 3, what are you willing to do? Who does what in the relationship? What is the roles? So that y'all aren't fighting each other to try to have a power position, male, female, whatever it is, but who gets to be the boss of the home? Who gets to be the boss of the business? Who gets to be the boss of who y'all hang out with? Who gets to be the boss of where the children go to school? Who gets to be the boss of all these areas? So then that person is trusted in that role to run that division 100%. Now you're not fighting because it's clear. I'm the boss to this area. You can give me advice, but at the end of the day, you back my decision. Why? Because you trust me.
That's such a great question. Answer.
Okay, Elena, I want you to tell the audience how you met Grant, because it's a very beautiful story of perseverance.
How we met?
How you met, because I think it's a beautiful story of perseverance.
And how he closed the deal with you,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So I was shooting a commercial in downtown Los Angeles, and Grant showed up on the set. He knew the director. He was not my type. When I wrote my list, it was over 100 items. Grant was all of the items except the first 2 items on my list. He was not 6'2", and he didn't have green eyes. Everything else on the list was Grant. So it goes to show you how shallow I was. Anyway, I didn't see him because he was just not my guy. Like, he was a business guy. I came from the actor world. I dated actors, musicians. I didn't know businessmen. The businessmen that I knew were like producers and directors. And let's face it, in Hollywood, those aren't always the most ethical people. So, you know what I mean? Anyway, so I didn't really pay much attention to him. He gets my number from the director. He calls me. I have this conversation with him. It went god awful. He was like, when people hang out with me, their lives tend to improve. And I just thought, I have been in Los Angeles since I was 17 years old. Like, I thought I had heard it all until I heard that line. I was like, oh my God, loser. Like, short, not my type guy. I hang up the phone with him. And from that call, he persisted and called me 2 times a month, every month for the next 13 months with 0 return phone call. He would leave messages on my answer machine, no return phone call. And finally, he found out my interest from one of my girlfriends, friends. I know in Mexico, I think y'all don't call it girlfriends. I like a girl, not a novia, an amiga. Okay. So he finds out from one of my amigas that I like to shoot guns. He left me a message. I was like, okay, I'll meet you at the shooting range. We met. He became okay to me, but still not my ideal guy. But because we had this friend in common, this girl, he started to show up more. We became friends. It was clear that he liked me more than I wanted to reciprocate. But usually in the past, when it was that way with men, they would get to a point where they would get mad, angry, make me wrong, start talking bad about me, say, screw it. Grant never did any of that. I've never had a guy just like not go away, but totally be cool. And I just thought, this guy sees something in me. I have no idea what, because it's got to be more than the poo nanny at this point, because any other guy who just wanted to have sex would have left a long time ago. This guy, there's something real, and he wants, I don't know why, but he wants a relationship with me. And that became very attractive to me and very stabilizing, because I was always too scared to be in a relationship, and he just made it safe. And I just fell in love with him at that point.
I remember when Grant say that he told to her mother, "Mama, I just met my wife," and she was like, "Oh yeah, I want to meet her." No, she doesn't know that I exist.
She doesn't want to go out with me, so like that, right?
No, because the first time she doesn't know that.
Yeah, on the after the first phone call, the one that I was like, "Oh God, this is a nightmare." He called it. Later, he told me he called his mom and said, "Mom, I'm so excited. I met the girl that I'm going to marry. I have good news and bad news, right? What's the good news? I met the girl I'm going to marry." And the mom was like, "Well, what's the bad news?" And he goes, "She hates my guts. She wants nothing to do with me." And his mom said, "Well, Grant, it takes 2. And at that moment, Grant had a cognition and said, it doesn't take 2. It takes 1. It takes somebody committed to persist. It doesn't take 2. It takes 1. So he, at that point, said, "You know what? I'm committed. I'm committed until this woman finally can open her eyes and see me." And that's exactly what happened.
I think that story is amazing and very worth repeating, and for all our Latin American women to hear. I think that was just so much nuggets of wisdom you just shared when it comes to finding, someone you trust and building an empire. That's your line.
And when you fall in love of the soul of somebody, not the physic part,
yeah,
it's like stronger.
Would you guys think So this is a question for the for both of you that are married and have solid relationships. I'm single, by the way. I'm going to the couples retreat, by the way, with you in April.
But by yourself.
Which is funny. No, actually, well, that story. Yeah,
Gonna have a boyfriend by then.
Right. And I did. And let me tell you something, like, we're not far off from that, but I can't really talk about it right now. Yeah, it's insane. What
am I missing?
Guys, yeah. So, but this is a personal question. What do you think? What do you think about speed when it comes to relationships? Speed in which how fast things move towards you meet somebody, you feel the connection. Whether, how do you hear, like, don't go to bed with him that fast because it will, like, like speed on how things move, what's your perspective on that? Does it matter? Doesn't really matter as long as...
I play hard with Robert because I like him so much. I was like, oh my God, this guy is like handsome and he's successful and he's so elegant. And I was like, so I really play hard, even though I want to kiss him like
immediately.
I play super hard. I was like, no. I remember that we went to Disney and he was trying to give me he gave me a kiss in the Pirates of the Caribbean. And I told him, excuse me, what do you think I am? In Mexico, you have to declare. And he was like,
you have to
declare what? And I was, you have to tell me, do you want to be my girlfriend? And he was like, how old are you? And I'm like, 37. And he was like, and I have to, and I was like, yeah, I can't kiss anybody if I'm not like a formal boyfriend and girl. He was like, oh my God, okay. And I was like, oh my God, probably I just screw it. Oh my God, he's not going to call me anymore. And like 2 hours after, we were passing in front of the castle of Disney. And he was like, I want to declare. Do you want to be my girlfriend? And I was like, yes.
Immediately.
And then we kiss. How about you, Elena?
Well, I love that story. I have a similar story. Grant said, we went out to dinner one night and he said, look, because he knew how scared I was of relationships. And he said, will you be my girlfriend? And I was like, what are we in 5th grade? Like, I felt the same way Robert felt. But he said, I promise, whether it's the next 3 days, 30 days, or 30 years, I promise to, be faithful, to love you, blah, 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 blah. And I said, and after all of that, I said, your girlfriend. I was like, okay, 3 days. Yeah, I can commit to 3 days. But what do I think about speed? I think it's always a great idea to take it slow. I mean, if it's the real deal, the guy is going to wait. I think you have more chances of blowing the deal because he could perceive you to maybe be, too easy or whatever. I think it's always a good idea. You can get to know somebody before you're going to bed with them. I think it makes it romantic that they kind of have to pursue a little bit of a chase or to work a little bit. Right now, they can get it all for free on Instagram. All they have to go and look on Instagram, TikTok. They're going to see everything they want to see. They can go there. They don't have to go to you, like for that. So, but, each case is individual. 2 people meet and they align and they figure out their wants and needs together, and they're like, this is it, I want to be with you, and they're honorable and you trust them and they can be trusted. That every rule can be broken. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
As a standard rule, I say there's nothing wrong with making somebody wait. If they're for real and they're really after you, they're not going to go away because you didn't give it up on the first night or the 5th night or the 10th night.
Man, that's a nugget of wisdom right there, guys. For the woman listening to us, yeah.
But I have a case on my own before Robert that I was dating a guy that I really, really like him, and I was playing so hard that he, like 2 months after, he told me, sorry, but I'm a man. I'm 45 years. I can be like that. Thank you very much. Bye. And I was like, not other chance.
It wasn't worth it for you either, Perla, because that
no
right for you.
I agree.
when the going gets tough in relationship, he's going to bail out. I'm glad you found out sooner rather than later.
For sure. No, for sure.
It's supposed to be your match. They're going to fight for you. They're going to fight with you, and you can just weed them out, And
that's true. That's true.
The right one's not going to go away because you don't,
Yeah.
And I think like I mean, I like very much that playing hard, because while you wait more, it's like more emotion, more like
it builds. It builds.
Yeah.
I'm not into playing games, okay?
Right.
I don't want to play games. I want to be real. I want to be able to say I like you. I want to be able to be real. I don't want to have to pick up on the third ring. I'm not about gimmicks. I don't want to be like, oh, I have to wait 2 days to call you back. I'm not into gimmicks. But when it comes to sex, like I made a rule. I'm not promiscuous. Like I'm not like I'm like with Perla. I need to be in a committed relationship, or know that's the direction that we're going to go in before I'm going to just do that. And I think to any honorable man, they're going to be okay with that too, because I think that's what they want out of that woman in that relationship.
Okay, Elena, my next question is, I think is the beginning of how you guys start building your empire. Please tell the audience that day that you were pregnant, and that was 2008, 2009. You were that grant tell you, okay, we're broke. Can you tell all that story? Or we're gonna be broke, or we're gonna, because that's like the beginning of your empire.
That's right. So it was in 2008. I was pregnant with Sabrina. It was the end of the year. We were watching the news, and Lehman Brothers collapsed, which is an institution that no one ever expected as a 100-year institution. It's not supposed to go bust. And so we're watching it collapse on the news, and the economy, as everyone knew it, was collapsing. The housing market just was in financial ruin. And so I see Grant go white in his face, and I said, what does this mean? And he said, it means we're going to die. And that's when I thought about that first phone call that we had. And I said, oh, no. You promised me on that first phone call that when people hang out with you, their lives tend to improve. You didn't mention anything about death. And then I pointed to my belly, and I was like, do we look like death to you? And I was like, no, go to your office, which was literally a few steps down the hallway. He didn't have a real office then. So he went into his office, his home office. I said, don't come out until you figure this thing out. 3 hours later, he comes back, and he's written this book. And he said, look, it's a book. It's not going to make us rich, but I understand what I have to do to never make you worry about money ever again. And he's kept his word. Now, how that was the birth of our empire was because at the same time he was reflecting on what he was going to do differently. Starting from that point, I was also looking at, well, how do I actually support him, because I was still doing my own thing at that time. How do I actually trade in the acting career in order to trade up for an empire? And what does that look like? And that's when we figured out who does what in our relationship based on our strengths and weaknesses. We had, at that point, we figured out who are we as a couple, where are we trying to go, and how do we assist and help each other go there. It didn't totally eliminate all of our bickering and internal fighting, but it vastly diminished it, because now we had each other. We had to fortify to get through this, or we were going to lose everything financially. And so we stopped the internal fighting. We really became teammates at that time. We really depended, like codepended on each other to execute on our roles at 100% if we were going to make it out alive. And we did. And we made a vow at that time that if we ever figured it out, We weren't going to close the doors like the wealthy people that you've interviewed, but we would keep the curtains open, good, bad, or ugly, for other people who were just like us, right? The little people hate when I use that term. They think I'm calling them little. I'm not. Don't take my words out of context. I think I'm a little person. I don't think that now, but that's how I was made to believe, that I'm a little person. I never went to college. I'm dumb. The school put me in the lower reading group. Like, I'm not supposed to do this. We vowed all the other little people, all the people who don't go to college, who come from drugs and alcohol, who've had traumas in their life, all those people. I do quotes because clearly you're a powerful person made to feel small. But we made a vow then, if we were ever to build this empire, we keep the curtains open so that all the other me's out there could see what we're doing and fast track your way to success. And the reason why these wealthy people don't want to talk about money is because it leaves them open to massive attacks. All you have to do in today's society is say one wrong word. And I'm not even talking about a really obvious dumb word. I'm talking about a word that you never even knew was an offensive word to either the Hispanic community or the Asian community or the Black community, even the white community. It's one word, and then you get a whole heap of hatred and make wrong, and all the people who don't want to see people like us win. Those people want to come out and try to shut you up and try to stop you from talking about this because they don't want to see people win. That is the truth. But we made a vow, hey, we were going to keep the curtains open. But I understand why wealthy people close the curtains, because at some point you go, I don't need this, right? I don't need this. Grant is the only CEO billionaire that I know of that's saying, this is how we do it. Here's the systems, here's the processes. And by the way, not only is it him, but you've got his wife who runs the whole behind the scenes operation saying, here it is, and this is why. And another reason why those wealthy people don't want to talk about money is because we're conditioned to think all people with money and wealth are the greedy, the evil people. So why would they want to expose themselves to that critical thinking? The only reason society does that, to make the wealthy be the greedy evil ones, is because they don't want you to be wealthy. They are happy with you being small so that those people in power can control the people that don't want to have the wealth. And lastly, what I'll say about wealth is that the word wealth, and why I'm so comfortable talking about wealth, is for a number of reasons. Number one, I understand you cannot go to the grocery store and buy diapers with a hug. You will need money. This is an economic planet. We better start talking about it and figuring out how to take care of ourselves, our families, our communities, and if you think big enough, and the world. Lastly, if you still have a problem with the word wealth, I encourage you to go look up the word wealth in the dictionary, look at the origin of the word, the derivation. The origin of the word wealth comes from Latin meaning well, the word well, plus healthy. Literally means we're healthy. So it actually is a state. If you have wealth, it means you are well and you are healthy. If you don't have wealth, it means you are unwell and not healthy. So think about how twisted the people out there would have to make wealth in order for people to think wealth is a bad thing, when it actually means well plus healthy.
And that's so interesting to me. I hope it translates in Spanish as well, if they look up the word abundancia, or, it'd be very interesting to see if it translates in Spanish. Elena, I have a question for you. What are the rules for women? What are the 3 top rules for women that are important so they become millionaires? Because a lot of our listeners are striving to, to learn about finances, to make their first million, to become millionaires. Like, you don't hear this in Latin America, right? Especially for women. Like, it's like unheard of almost. I'm like pretty much, I think I'm about the only woman speaking openly about being ambitious, being driven, aspire to earn your first million, and all these things. So what would you say for these women that are listening to us? Like, what would 3 rules for women that are important to make their first $1 million?
Yeah, I think it's important. I'm all for, I know I was talking about motherhood earlier, but I'm all for women making their money. It's production is the basis of morale. Production is the basis of morale. They say money won't make you happy, but honestly, like the people that are telling you that are people that never have any money. So, but I get it. Money doesn't make you happy. The production makes you happy. That's what makes you feel confident and competent, and that's when you feel good with the production. So the 3 things that I would tell you if you want to have a millionaire mindset is you just have to break it down to math, figure out what's the money and how much your products would have to cost and how many people you'd have to sell to at what amounts, or so you break it down so it's not just $1 million. Like, break down the math. But the only 3 things you need to know about money, you do not need a college education, but if you apply this principle, you will create wealth through business. And the number 1 thing is you have to know how to earn it, okay? So you have to know how to earn it. Number 2 is you have to know how to store it. Okay, I did not say save, I said store it, okay? So, and number 3, you have to know how to invest it into an income producing asset, cash flow. Now, let me go through each of those and break it down, because if you understand this, you will create wealth, okay? You can earn your way to rich. You cannot earn your way to wealth. The only way to create wealth is from cash flow. So most people understand how to earn it. Very few people know how to store it. And virtually no one knows how to have cash flow. And that's how every wealthy person, if you study them on planet Earth, the wealthy have cash flow. So number 1, you earn it. So you go out, you work, and you have that money. The earned income, very important, ladies. Earned income does not pay for designer purses, shoes, bags, fancy cars, vacations, high-priced drinks at clubs. Earned income does not do that. If you don't have cash flow, you cannot do those things. If you want to...
Cash is king.
No, cash is trash. Cash flow is king.
Cash flow. Correct.
Cash is devaluing. So you earn it. What do I mean by you go out, you earn, okay? You only spend earned income on self-enhancement, what you need to know to become better in your business or into your company, right? Like if you're a hairstylist, you need to invest in the products, right? So earned income only goes into hiring people for your business or self-enhancement or the products for your business. So you understand you're earning it and you're putting it back into yourself. So you still don't have an extra supply. You still feel like I'm broke. I'm working, but I'm broke. And you're like, but you're actually building and expanding. Once you keep doing the self-enhancement, you're going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Eventually, you're going to be doing so good, hiring more people, and they're bringing in money to the business that eventually you can now store the overflow of the money. Once you've stored enough of the overflow of the money, let's say it's 10 grand, 100 grand, something like that. Now you put this into an income producing asset. So for me, it's apartment buildings in the US, and we have Cardone Capital. So if other people want to invest with us, they can. You put that into an income producing asset. So I have these buildings that have tenants in it. I rent it to them, and then all that extra money pays me every single month as cash flow. So now I'm earning income and my cash is earning income. Whether I'm asleep or sick or have to take off, my multi-level, my apartment buildings are producing income for me every month. From that cash flow, that's what buys the clothes, the toys, the homes, the planes, your fancy dinners, vacations. It only comes from cash flow. And until you have that cash flow, you are in what is called sacrifice phase. And sacrifice phase means, what are you willing to sacrifice now what are you willing to pay the price on now so that you can pay any price going forward from the cash flow? So again, why is that model so good for a businesswoman? It teaches you discipline not to spend your earned income on stuff that's not going to bring value. It teaches you that, hey, guess what? After you've stored your income, right? You've stored that extra surplus. Once you dump it into an income producing asset, guess what? Now you've gone broke again, right? You don't have a big savings anymore. It forces you back into the mindset to have to keep recreating earned income. Now you trust yourself that at any given time can generate income, and to keep then putting it in so that you can continue to build out the funnel.
Mm. Great words. Great words. Great advice.
Great advice. Yeah.
That's how you create wealth. And most people violate that formula, which is why they never actually achieve real wealth. I mean, real wealth is generate
beyond.
Well, it's not, it's beyond. Yeah. So that might take that cycle might take years to do. But the good thing is every time you put your chunk of money into an income producing asset, what happens? You become protected. That money is now growing in real estate, in a family unit. It continues to appreciate over time. And number two is when people come to you and want to borrow money from you, or they have an accident or this or that, guess what? All you have to say is, I'd love to help you out, but hey, I just went broke. All my money's in real estate. You can't pull your money out of real estate very easily. So it kind of protects you from all the other people that want to come after you now that you're the rich guy, because you've been earning, investing in yourself, doing all the work for the little bit of overflow. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Okay. It's like two questions. First, don't answer me till I tell you both, because they were like together. When did you start feeling secure, finance secure, money wise secure, in a big way? I mean, in a big way. And do you have a specific goal, money wise and personal wise?
Yeah. So, yes, I wanted Grant to become a billionaire. This was several years ago. When I first told him that I wanted him to become a billionaire, he was very angry at me. When's enough? You're not the one that has to go do all the work, blah, 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 blah. I was furious. And then finally I calmed him down and I said, look, I want you to become a billionaire, because imagine how many people you will have had to exchange your products and services with to become a billionaire. Like, look at the Forbes list. They're Coca-Cola, it's Walmart. Everybody knows who they are. They have products, right? And another reason is because you're that powerful. I've met the other billionaires. You have more value than them. So why aren't you walking amongst the planet, amongst the giants? And because you can actually help people and they don't. So that's who you are. That's who you need to be. Go there. For my greedy reason why it was $1 billion is because when a person of that magnitude and that ability doesn't have their sights set on the right target, then the person who is the target is usually the mate, And so to direct that energy from coming at me all the time, I'm like, I'm not your enemy. I had to be smart enough to point him in direction, say, that's your target. And then that became the target, not me. So that was my greedy version. So when did I become and feel financially, like we've made it? When we hit the billion. When we hit the billion, personal financial wealth is when I was like, wow, we actually did it. Like I never really thought I always, my positive side was like, yes, of course we can do it. But I didn't really think it could be done, So that, and so where do we want to go now? The next mark, of course, is 10 billion. Do we need 10 billion? No. But what I need to be able to do is I needed to hit $1 billion in order to be on your podcast today. Because who doesn't want to hear from a billionaire? People don't have access to billionaires. So now when I have a stat that big behind me, you might not like the way I look. You might not like the sound of my voice, but you will more than likely listen to what I have to say because you can't dispute my stat. So if we want to reach as a couple's goal that Grant and I have, we want to reach 8 billion people on planet Earth. We want them winning from our products and services. So I have to have these stats in order to get your attention, in order to then be able to put a 10X Ladies ticket in your hand, my book, Grant's book, so that you can change the trajectory of your family so that we can win. When you win, we win. So the next big milestone is 10 billion. Like, can we really get there? And if we do, then how many more people would be willing to listen to us and hear from us and trust us that our products and services aren't the latest Instagram expert, but real bona fide material? They would more than likely trust our products more because of the stats that we have. So that's really why I have these targets in place. It's all to fit the big picture.
Did you give a prize for yourself? I mean, you and Grant, when you reach the 1 billion? I'm going to tell you something, Elena. Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
No. I mean, I'm just saying that we're connected on the same, like in the conversation.
It's que, Elena, I remember when was that day? We were together. We went with Luis Mendez to see a place named Metropica with Grant and Robert and Camila, like in a Sunday. And you told me they just called us that we reach $1 billion. We're like, oh my God. And she's like super calm. You were like, we already reached. We were like, Elena, oh my God, what are you going to do? Well, I don't know, nothing. I mean, I want to know if something, ask the question, if something happened.
No. How did you celebrate or not?
No, we don't celebrate enough. I'm really trying to bring that into our family more. We're so geared on, like, once we hit a target, we're already on to the next target. So we don't do a good enough job, like acknowledging and making firm the wins. I'm really practicing putting that in because by the time we get there, I've already set the bar to the next standard. So now it feels like, but I don't promote that. Like, I do promote celebrating and acknowledging and making firm the wins. And I am trying to do a better job of that because that is my role within the family. And we are doing more of that. But the interesting thing is because for so many years, I've been working, I decided this is probably the biggest secret to our success, other than that we're aligned and yada, yada, yada. But what I do is I don't live from the past anymore. I live from the future, which is a very different concept. So what that looks like is I envision who I want to be in the future, how powerful of a woman, what are our finances like, who's in our life, what does it look like? I visualize that future, right? And then I reverse engineer into the present time. Now, if I want to become that person, what do I have to do in order to become able to speak on stages? I have to speak on more stages. I have to do more podcasts. I have to understand more about finances. I have to have better communication courses. So from who I want to be there, I reverse engineer and make myself go through those steps to have that picture. So for the longest time, I had the picture of a billionaire, right? And what do I have to do in order to take those steps? How do I have to support Grant? What do I have to understand about money? blah, 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 blah. So but at in the present time, you have to wear the hat. The hat denotes who you have to be. If you're a doctor, a policeman, they wear a hat, right? So wear the billionaire hat. What does that mean? It doesn't mean I'm going to go spend money that I don't have. That is violation to that money formula I told you earlier. But wear the beingness of a billionaire. Now, even though I'm not a billionaire, I have to wear the hat of one while I take the steps before I can have the actual status of billionaire. So for so many years, I had been wearing the hat of a billionaire. What does that mean? That means, okay, when somebody tells me, or I lose an incredible job and I'm all distraught, I'm a billionaire, even though I'm not. But I take the mindset of, okay, I can take that hit. I'm a billionaire. I just have to make another phone call and increase my pipeline. I have to, make that phone call. Okay, that person hung up on me. But I'm a billionaire. So who wouldn't take my call? Let me make another call. You know what I'm saying? Because I wore the hat of a billionaire for so many years that the day I found out I was a billionaire, like, that's not real to me. Like nothing changes in me. It's like on your birthday, you feel different. I don't feel different.
Yeah, I don't see anything in changes. Yeah.
It's digits in a bank account. That's what I'm saying. There's nobody plopped a stack of $1 billion on my desk. I have no reality on how much $1 billion is. So if it's digits in a bank account in order to give me a feeling, why can't you just give yourself that feeling right now without having the digits in the bank account? Why can't you be that person now rather than waiting until you become one to all of a sudden, well, now I feel different and now I'm special. Do you know what I mean? You have to be that way before. That's why I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, what does that even mean? I'm still me. I'm still the girl from New Orleans, Louisiana, who wants to buy everything on sale. Like, I don't know. I'm still the girl that when I go to a party and they give out a swag bag, I'm like, oh, free stuff. Like I don't know how to change just because I have digits in a bank account. Like I'm still me,
Yeah. Like it makes sense. At the end of the day, I think it's creating in your mind something before it happens, and then when it happens, it's like you've already been living in that reality within your internal self. So it's just, oh my God, it caught up with whom I already knew I could be or would be. So it makes total sense. So what would be, to start closing, because we honor your time, what would be the two most important disciplines you have? Actually, you talked about money disciplines. What other disciplines besides money do you think within yourself, like a woman, a millionaire woman should have in their life? Like what are the top 3 disciplines like you want to like conquer yourself,
Yeah, you've got to have discipline. Like I always hated that word. I just thought, who wants to be disciplined? It sounds like so much trouble or whatever, but discipline is really the thing that has set me across from everybody else. No, I'm going with you. I have 2 more minutes. We're 5 minutes away. We're okay. Is discipline. So discipline's become my biggest tool, not motivation. Everyone's like, how do I get motivated? I don't wake up motivated every day. Like it's not going to happen. I do it anyway. So I'm disciplined by, I give myself little tasks to do, not big overwhelming ones. Drink my water, take my vitamins, make my bed, wake up, beat the sun up, these little tiny things that I can achieve every single day that build up consistency, that give me the ability to know that I can trust myself. I have confidence in self. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. If I mess up one day here or there, no big deal. I just recommit and I get my schedule in and I do the things I say I'm going to do, because consistently over a long enough period of time, you learn not to care about your feelings in a world of when everyone says, oh, the feelings, the feelings, the feelings. I say, to heck with the feelings, because more often than not, I'm not going to feel like doing something. I do it anyways.
Yes.
When you set that up for yourself, you become like, I don't care how I feel. I'm going to get it done. This is my purpose. This is my why. And whether it's rain or shine or whether I feel like it or not, I do it anyway. And that discipline is going to set you apart from everybody else who's going to quit. And you know, because you're in the physical workout space, you know how many people give up when it gets difficult. Yeah. Guys, I hate to tell y'all this, but I have to run to bring.
No, yeah, of course. No. You know, we know. We appreciate your time so much. Elena, thank you so much for your time, for all the nuggets of wisdom you shared with us. Really appreciate, and you know, I hope that all women in Latin American community get to know you and Grant, of course, and your work, which is one of the things we want to do as well. We want to help you guys so that all our community get to know your work, because I admire you personally, and I think there's not enough people talking like you guys. We need you, and we need more of you. So I'm really grateful for that. And I'm gonna be seeing you soon.
For sure. Thank you very much, Elena. I think we have many other things to ask you, including
we'll
EXP.
Invite her again. We'll invite her again.
We have to invite you again. We have to talk about EXP. We have to talk about 10x health. I mean, there are so many things. So I think from this program is going to be part 1 and part 2.
Yes.
And please send a big hug to Grant and tell him our best wishes.
Yeah.
And he will get
a lot of healing energy to him. But we'll know he recovered quickly because he specializes in comebacks.
No, and Gary Breca, they have like the best healthy person in the United States. So send you big kisses.
Bye, Elena. Thank you so much.
Fabulous. And I'll be up for part 2 whenever you're ready.
Woo! Bye, Elena.
Bye.